Price. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. I currently live in Cape Town, South Africa. I moved to Cape Town, South Africa for the wine and the people. Hi, welcome to my home. Come on in. What were my first impressions of South Africa when I first moved here? I was really impressed with how gracious and beautiful the people are, how beautiful the scenery is. It reminds me a lot actually of California, and I was just impressed with the people. So living in South Africa is peaceful and it's pretty amazing. What I love most about living in Cape Town, South Africa is the sense of peace that I have, is the accessibility to the wine industry, to the winelands. Those are some of my most favorite parts about living in Cape Town. I think South Africa has given me the gift of slowing down. When I was in America, I worked a corporate job. I had a small business, well, not a small business, but I had a business on the side. And Cape Town, living in South Africa, it's a much slower pace. And I'm able to just really, literally smell the roses, stop and smell the roses, literally. All right, so here's my lovely kitchen. This is my dining area. So sorry, it's a little bit of a mess, but this is my spare room. And then this is my main bedroom. And then of course there's a bathroom here. Sorry, it's a little bit of a mess. Why did I leave the United States? Was I running from something? Was I in search of something? Honestly, it was neither. I honestly just had this strong desire to live outside of the country since I was a little girl. I had a friend whose mom had moved to Brazil, and that kind of inspired me that there was a possibility to live outside of the United States. And so I always had this in my heart to live outside of the United States. And honestly, living in South Africa has exceeded any kind of expectations that I would have had. There was no particular moments that made me move outside of the United States that happened in the United States. It was literally just moving to Africa and seeing and feeling how peaceful it is here for me that prompted me to say, this is where I want to live. So there was nothing happening in the United States that said, let me run away. Oh, this is my favorite part. This is the view. My plant babies. And it's a beautiful view. My expenses compared to the United States. It's so funny because an Uber driver asked me, or he was preaching to me and telling me how, like, it's so much better here. The cost of living is definitely less expensive here, right? So when I said, like I said before, in America, I was working two jobs essentially. I had my wine business and then I had a big corporate job. Here, I just have my wine business and I'm able to focus on my wine business 100% full time. And I'm still able to have time to spend with friends and to do some of the things that I like to do in my free time. As far as the cost of living and the expenses, like I said, I'm from LA. I'm from the big city in the United States where things can be super expensive. For example, the apartment that I have is half the cost of my apartment in the United States and twice the size. Oh, you want to know how much my apartment is? You want to know all my business? All right. So it's 16,500 Rand, which comes out to about almost $900. And it's a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bathrooms, double volume. That's how they say 2 stories in South Africa apartment. So it's a beautiful apartment. The amount of money that I spend on other expenses like transportation, entertainment, and food it's minimal compared to what it costs in the United States. So for example, in the United States, if I go to the grocery store once a week, I would spend $100 once a week at the grocery store. That's $400 a month. Here at the grocery store, I probably spend about 600 Rand, which is about $42, $36. So it's less than half the cost for groceries. So the milk is 19.95 Rand. What else do I need over here? Maybe some sour cream. Some sour cream. All right. For my tacos. And I think I need some more toilet paper. All right, it's a light shopping day. Oh, you know what though? I actually did want to get some charcoal though, because I want to fry. All right, so I have just a little bit of groceries that I need. Good, thank you. Yeah, please. So basically $10 for all of this. Okay. And then transportation, oh my God, I love that because I take Uber everywhere. And so like, I don't even know if I could afford to live in the States right now the way that I take Uber. I don't have a car here and I've been debating on buying one or not buying one. As of right now, I take Ubers everywhere. And I think it's pretty reasonable. If I get a car, I have to think about like car insurance and parking and all that stuff. I'm not really excited about that, and I love just using Uber so then I can just text and look at things. My Uber expenses is about 500 Rand a week, so like 2,000 Rand a month, which is like $150, $120, not even $150, yeah. And then entertainment, I like to go out. You know what, I entertain a lot for business, I entertain a lot with friends, and like, for example, a really nice restaurant, one of my favorite restaurants, if we go out, me and my friends, we might end up spending about 600 Rand each for wine and for dinner. And that's like about $36. In the United States, $36 would be like a drink and maybe an appetizer. Well, since my business is like not necessarily in an office, I pretty much just like work on the road. So like usually I'm working at home in my apartment, but today I have back-to-back meetings. So this is one of my favorite places to have meetings, Novel Wine Bar. It's a Black-owned wine bar. They serve brands by up-and-coming winemakers, most of whom of people are color. And so I love to have my meetings here. They also have really great coffee. Luther makes a mean cappuccino, and he even has sweetened almond milk. So yeah, and then next we're gonna head to Long Street to a Black-owned wine bar, another Black-owned wine bar, and I just have a promo video that I'm doing for them because I'm doing a Meet the Maker event at their place. So it's super easy to just go from one place to the other and work. Hi, my name is Twani Price, owner of Zuri Wine Tasting and now owner of Twani Rosé. I moved here several years ago and now I have my own wine brand. The winemaker is Greg Siebritz. I've been in the industry for a number of years before there were all these wonderful Black-owned wine brands. And I got into the industry because I got embarrassed at a restaurant and I wanted to learn as much as I could about wine. What happened at the restaurant? I was doing really well at my job. My manager said, you know what, we can't give you a bonus, but what we can do is send you to the restaurant. And it was a 5-star restaurant. Take whoever you want, order whatever you want, just go to the restaurant and have a good time. So I take my mom and my sister, the waiter, the sommelier, whoever he was super embarrassing. Like he didn't say a word. He just went through the wine ceremony with the towel over his arm. I ordered a wine. The wine menu was like a foreign language. I couldn't pronounce anything. I didn't know what was what. So I just picked one blindly. He came over with the wine. He showed me the bottle. He poured me a little sip. I looked at my mom and I said, I'm grown. I can have a whole glass of wine. and she nudged me and she said, you're supposed to taste it and tell him if you like it or not. So I did that, went through with the wine, had an amazing dinner, but then when I got home, I felt super embarrassed and intimidated, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna learn as much about wine as I can. So I started a wine club with my girlfriends. We would meet once a month. One person was responsible for the food and the wine, and we learned about wine through food. It was the most amazing thing ever. And then I started to study with the Society of Wine Educators, the North American Sommelier Association, and then Wine and Spirits Educational Trust, WSET. Healthcare is pretty reasonable too. So like when you go to like the health insurance, like hospital insurance, it's about $100 a month. And then doctor visits are super cheap. Like, so if you go to the doctor, it's about $325, $350 for the doctor visits. And they usually give you your medicine too. Like if you have, you know, a pain medicine or something, they'll give that to you in the office with your visit. And then prescription medicine, I have a couple prescriptions that I pay for, and yeah, I don't use health insurance to pay for those prescriptions. I just buy them outright and it's dirt cheap. I actually always wanted my own wine brand. People always said you should have your own wine brand, but I wanted my wine brand to represent my business. In my business, I focus on people of color in the wine industry. And so I wanted my wine brand to be made by a Black winemaker. That was super important to me. And I was explaining this to a customer one day, and I was at Dieudonné Winery, and the winemaker, Greg Siebritz, who is a man of color, he walked past and he heard this story, and he casually goes, "I'll make a wine for you, Twani." And I was like, "What, really?" And he was like, "Sure, come in next week and we could talk about it." So I was like, okay, fine. So I went in next week and he's like, okay, so what did you want? And I said, well, you know, you have this 16 and this 2018 in a barrel. I was thinking I could take that and make a red wine blend because those are the years that are super important to me. 2016 is when I first visited Cape Town. 2018 is when I decided I wanted to live in Cape Town and moved here. So he's like, wait a minute, Twani, I have that reserved for a special project. What I can do is make a Merlot for you. And then me, I'm super, impatient. And so I said, no, I don't want a Merlot because I don't want to wait 18 months or 3 years for it to age. I want to release the wine in time for summertime in America. And he's like, okay, we'll make a rosé. So he says, come back next week. I know you like the Graham. You can help pick some grapes for the Graham, and then I'll make a rosé for you. So that's what he did. So Greg Siebritz, the winemaker at Dieudonné, made this wonderful Twani rosé, and I'm super excited about the rosé. He did an amazing job. He's such a talented winemaker, and he so happens to be Black. So can I tell you a little bit about how I came up with this whole concept from grape to glass? It was super important for me for the wine to represent not only Greg properly, but my culture and my journey in the wine industry. So if you look at the bottle, it's very intentional. It's shaped like a beautiful Black woman with all the curves. If you look at the label, you'll see that this right here is my actual handwriting, and it signifies the fact that no matter who you are and where you come from, you can write your own story. And then the proteas, these are my 2 children, and this is me. I only bud when they bloom. And South Africa's national flower is protea. And then if you look very, very closely at the wine label, you can see a silhouette of Table Mountain. So there's a silhouette of Table Mountain. This represents my whole love affair with South Africa as a country. And then on the back of the label, I get to pay homage to Greg Siebritz, and I get to say his name because saying names of people in rooms is so important. So Greg Siebritz is the winemaker. How did I build my community here in Cape Town, and do I feel welcomed? I 100% feel welcomed. Ever since I stepped off the plane, when I came in July of 2016 just to visit, I felt this, I know it sounds so cliche and so corny, Americans say this all the time, but I felt this warmth that came over me, and I just heard this voice that said, welcome home, cousin. And as I traveled throughout the city, that's the impression that I got from all the people, like just welcome, welcome home, like you are here. And that's pretty much just remained. But how I built my community was, before I even came here, I just did research. I work in wine, and I'm specifically interested in the roles that people of color, that Black people play in the wine industry. So I did a search on Google, Black people in wine, and then I found out about a couple key people in organizations. I volunteered for the organizations. I emailed the people and I said, hey, listen, can I be your best friend of sorts? Can we hang out, have lunch, talk, drink wine, do something? And that's how I started to just build my community. So since 2016, since I touched down, even before I touched down, I just did some research and I just reached out to people to build that community. My name is Twani. Thank you guys so much for joining our Sips with Soul tour. You're gonna have a super fabulous day. Super proud of this tour. I created this tour so I could showcase Black people in the wine industry. As you've probably experienced, Cape Town can be so white. There's a lack of Black ownership in Cape Town. And so I try to find Black-owned things and I try to point them out, especially in wine. So today we're gonna stop at Dia Domain. It's not Black-owned, however, the head winemaker, Greg Siebritz, is a Black man. And then from there, our next stop will be Cafe Divin, not Black-owned, however, the head chef, Chef Ahmed, is Black. He's from Nigeria, and I love how he infuses a little bit of his Nigerian culture into the menu. You can get West African jollof rice. And then our final stop, the finale, will be Klein Hoederes. Klein Hoederes is the 100% Black-owned wine farm. It's only one in all of Franschhoek. There's 57 wine farms and only one is Black-owned. I say it like that so you can do the math, because the math just is not math in a country that's mostly Black people. So we're gonna have an amazing day. Our driver is Julian. Come say hi, Julian.
Morning.
And then we have Hayford, who's visiting from Ghana, who's filming.
Hello.
And it's just our camera person. All right, so are you guys ready to hit the road? Yes. Is everybody comfy?
Yep.
Yes. All right, Do I feel wealthier now, although I make less money now than I did when I was in the United States? Heck yeah, I do. I feel wealthier because, money is a tool that we use to, buy things and do things, and it's very important, right? However, but I feel like wealth is having peace and having happiness and still having food on the table. And you have all of that in Cape Town. My definition of rich is, honestly, having food on your table and feeling peace and feeling happiness and having a really good community, having friends, having family. That's my ideal of rich. So I think I'm very rich. Where was I living in the United States? So in the United States, I lived in Los Angeles, California before I moved to Cape Town, South Africa. More specifically, I lived in Ladera Heights. Shout out to all my Ladera folks. My rent in Ladera Heights was $1,750. Is it more affordable here than it is in the United States? And do I appreciate that? Of course, I 100% appreciate the blessing of being able to live here. But it's not, I appreciate it 100%, but it gives me more time to really enjoy life. So like when I was in the United States, yes, things were expensive, but I wasn't struggling in the United States like that. I wasn't miserable. I had a really great life. I was doing the same things that I do here. It's just that I had to work twice as hard for it. Wow, what's something surprising that I've learned about life, living here, my expenses, and saving money? Wow, that's a really difficult question. There's really nothing surprising that I've learned about life and saving money and difficulty. I think that your relationship with money is your relationship with money no matter where you are. And it's really surprising how people who live here want to go to America because they think that the roads are paved in gold and there's so much money and so much opportunity, right? But I feel that same way about here. I feel like if you live here, you could start a business, you can make money, and you can live very nicely. Whereas you moved from here and you went there, you'd be surprised at how hard you have to work just so that you can afford a meal out with your family. I think money is so personal and it's relative, but yeah. How do I earn my income now, and has it changed since I relocated to South Africa? My income has not changed since I relocated to South Africa too much. So like I said before, when I was living in the United States, I was working a corporate job and I had a corporate paycheck, which was very nice. But then I also had a business on the side that was doing very well. And so when I moved to South Africa, I kept that business, that customer base, and that's what I used to make money here in South Africa. So my business is based in the United States. I live here in South Africa. Do I feel more free or do I feel more challenged here in South Africa? I'm an entrepreneur, so I think that feeling challenged is always going to be a part of the equation, no matter where I am, if I'm in the United States or if I'm in South Africa. I feel like living here and doing my business here and creating opportunity here, I have a lot more freedom, I have a lot more free time, and mentally it does feel better, yeah. What was the initial response of my friends and my family when I told them that I was moving to South Africa? People weren't surprised. By the time that I started traveling to South Africa, I had already been traveling all over the world for the most part, and people were used to me leaving the country and coming back in. They were used to me just being adventurous. And so when I told them I was moving here, people were super excited. And when I first moved here, it was part-time, so I was going back and forth. And so I kept having all these going away parties, which was super fun. Do I feel like I'm a different person since I've relocated to South Africa? I hope not. I definitely hope not. I feel like I am the same person that I was in the United States. I'm just 20 in South Africa instead of 20 in LA. But no, I feel like my personality, myself, my goals, the things that I want to contribute to the world, and the legacy that I want to leave is the same. It's the same that it was in the United States as it is here in Africa. What brings me peace in South Africa that I did not have in the United States? Honestly, I would say the police, the lack of police violence. Like in the United States, there's just so much. There's the gun violence, the police brutality, the overt racism. I don't feel that in South Africa. I feel peaceful. Like if I'm walking down the street, I don't have to worry about if the cops are going to pull me over for no reason. I don't have to worry about if I'm in the movie theater, if somebody's going to come into the movie theater and shoot it up. So that's the kind of peace that I'm talking about when I talk about peace. Like the violence that happens in the United States can be intense. What made me overlook the history of apartheid and move to South Africa? based on my history with social injustice in the United States, I feel like one of the things that I do love about the people of South Africa is they can be very forgiving people. And apartheid happened 30 years ago. And when you look at the history of, and not to diminish the impact and the negativity of apartheid. It was terrible. The remnants of it are still terrible, right? But it was a small part of South African history. And so when you look at the people that live here, you'll notice that they're mixed with all kind of things. And there was a time and period when people just got along. So that part of it, it's still a struggle. It's still something but I also feel like it's part of my blessing by being here, because apartheid happened 30 years ago and because it systematically put people of color in a disadvantage. I'm here with my American spirit, my American entrepreneurship, and I'm able to help other people of color, Black people that are here, build businesses, create wealth and opportunity. And so that's the reason to be here, because of its history, because it's so close to American history and it's parallel to the social injustice that happened in America. This is the perfect place to rebuild and to create inclusion and wealth. What are some of the sacrifices that I've had to make, and what have I gained emotionally? So the biggest sacrifice that I've had to make, and this is the trade-off, is family and very, very close friends. Like there are times when I just really miss my family and I miss my really close friends. And I honestly wish that they just lived here in South Africa. So that's the biggest sacrifice, but I'm able to call them and FaceTime them and they visit. So it's not a terrible, terrible sacrifice. And then the biggest emotional gain that I have, I mean, I'm just going to continue to say it. It's just like this sense of peace. It's a peace, it's happiness. It's waking up in the morning and knowing that, it just feels good. I can't even explain the peace that I have and how it just feels to wake up on the African continent and to be with my people. What surprises me the most about the people here in South Africa is their, honestly, this sentiment of forgiveness and what is it called? Ubuntu, like this sense of like unity and community, and people really, really want to help out each other. I think I feel that a lot, and not only from Black people, but I also feel it from white people. Yeah. What matters more to me now than it did in the United States? What matters more to me now, I think one of the things that I take away from South Africa is what matters to me is just like how we treat people, how we treat each other, I think because I've been able to slow down and I've been able to interact more with people and be more intentional, that's the one thing that I've learned the most, or the one takeaway. It's just like how to slow down, how to treat people, how to listen to people, how to understand different people's opinions, because in South Africa there's 11 different tribes with 11 different cultures, and then you throw in the Afrikaners and you throw in the colored people. So it's like you really have to try and be intentional in understanding other people's cultures. Whereas in America, you pretty much have two cultures. You have your white people, you have your Black people, and you might throw in some Mexicans or some Latinos, right? But for the most part, America is one culture, everybody's pretty much, for the most part, one religion, one culture, they speak one language. And so here there's 11 different tribes, 11 different languages, and people do things differently. So yeah, I think that's probably one of my favorite things about South Africa and one of my favorite learning moments. Where do I see myself in the next 5 years? So I've been thinking about that a lot lately because, I'm getting